get up earlier for no reason. And when I say that, I don't, I guess, literally mean no reason, but what I mean is that you don't have to get up earlier to do something or because you have some event, but rather what I mean is that you should do it because get up earlier for no reason. And what I mean by that is not necessarily no reason, but that you don't have to get up earlier to do something specific or because you have an event. But you may want to consider getting up earlier just because it's beneficial for your mental health and well-being. So you want to get up kind of for its own sake. And in this video, we'll explore just that. Why getting up earlier matters. We'll examine some of the scientific literature, and ultimately we'll answer the question, what is the best wake-up time? So let's get into it. Well, so what is it? What is the best wake-up time? Well, this is somewhat of a trick question because the best wake-up time is not a specific time. The best wake-up time is earlier and the same time. I'll say that again. The best time to wake up is earlier and at the same time. What do I mean by that? Well, let's talk about the first part, earlier. So there's a study from the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard, as well as the University of Colorado Boulder. They looked at 840,000 people, and they found that sleep schedule significantly influences your risk of depression. And waking up just 1 hour earlier, regardless of your usual sleep time, seemed to reduce the risk of depression by about 23%. Now, here's an interesting thing in this study, is it's important to say that this was about shifting your sleep schedule or your sleep time earlier. So it's not to say that normally people were sleeping 8 hours and they went to bed at the same time and got up an hour earlier. Rather, it seems to indicate that they kind of shifted their whole window of when they sleep. You think about an early bird, then maybe someone who's kind of normal, and then a night owl. It would be sort of on that spectrum, moving your entire sleep-wake cycle forward just a little bit. And so that's important too, because there's a ton of research that sort of is kind of a consensus at this point that we need 7 to 9 hours as adults, often more than that for children and adolescents, to function properly. So that is a priority, right? If moving your sleep schedule up means that you're just going to cut out additional hours of sleep, it's unlikely to be beneficial. But at least according to this study, if you can shift this entire block of sleep forward, earlier, no matter what your standard schedule is, it will likely have some benefits to your mental health and overall functioning. And there was another study related to this led by one of the lead researchers. Her name is Celine Vetter. And this one looked at 32,000 nurses. And it showed that early riser types were 27% less likely to develop depression over the course of 4 years. And so it's important to understand that this idea of being kind of an early riser or an early bird versus a night owl or I don't know what the other term is for that, right? A night owl. It's partially genetic. And so they estimate that maybe like this sort of disposition is about 1/3 genetic. But things like your exposure to light and then, of course, your just behavioral schedule influences that sleep pattern as well. So that's the first part, right? Is it seems to indicate from 2 of these studies with fairly large sample sizes that the best time to wake up is simply earlier. So I'm not going to say a set time specifically because these studies didn't look at a set time specifically. They looked at more of a tendency or an archetype, or in this case, actually interesting little bit here from the research, is called a chronotype. So a chronotype refers to your kind of style. Are you a morning person? Are you kind of in the middle? Or are you a night person or a late riser? So to put a bow on that, I think it's also worth using some level of discretion here, that if you're already getting up at maybe 5, maybe you don't need to move to 4 a.m., but generally speaking, trying to shift your schedule a little bit earlier than you might normally. I also advise, though, the second part of this, was I said the best wake-up time is earlier and the same time. So this is something that both leading sleep scientist Matthew Walker, as well as now fairly famous neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, talk about. And the reason that waking up at the same time is so important is it has to do with circadian rhythm. So both of these gentlemen advise that even if you have to kind of stay up late or something weird happens or your schedule's all thrown off, that you should actually get up at the same time you usually do. Or interestingly, I actually saw a resource one of the tools recommended by Andrew Huberman that was if your weekend schedule kind of throws you off and you're coming back into Monday, you may even consider getting up 30 minutes earlier than usual, doing a cold shower or some sort of cold exposure, and then at least 10 minutes of cardiovascular exercise, and then proceeding with your day as usual. And that helps to kind of reset the circadian rhythm. But the circadian rhythm is essential because it is the underlying pattern, so to speak, or timing, or rhythm, as the name implies, that underlies our sleep-wake cycles and many other elements of our cognitive focus and our overall health. And so it's important to establish kind of a tight rhythm, so to speak, or a consistent rhythm, because when you're getting up at the same time every day, not only does it just help you to be more consistent with your wake up and then have an easier time falling asleep and have higher quality sleep, but it also helps regulate your hormones and all these other internal biological rhythms and reaction that are going on throughout the day. And it's going to help to optimize them when you have that consistent starting time to your day. And of course, like I said, it's really essential for sleep hygiene to keep that set pattern and that set rhythm. And of course, sleep hygiene relates to sleep quality and how much you sleep, which is probably the number one pillar when it comes to your overall mental and physical health. So to summarize, I tried to set out to answer this question, right? What is the best wake-up time? Now I'm trying to draw on some of the scientific literature to give an answer here. And maybe you're a little annoyed with me that I didn't say it's 6:15 a.m. But what we seem to see is that the best wake-up time is quite simply earlier and the same time. So ideally, you'll get up, whatever your sleep schedule is, you'll shift it forward slightly, which according to some of these studies, seems to indicate that it supports mental health and well-being. And you'll aim to get up at the same time each day, including weekends, to help establish that optimal circadian rhythm. So I hope this is helpful. If you want more tools like this, you can check out two of my resources below. One of them is this knowledge base where I put all these sorts of references and insights from happiness, and they all link together into kind of a happiness Wikipedia. The other one is where I publish tools and resources, my blog, studyhappiness.blog. You can also watch this video here if you'd like. It's the one that the magical elves at YouTube think is best for you. And that's all for today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. My name's Jackson Kirchis. I'm your happiness nerd, and I'll see you next time.